Okay, and welcome back to the DBTalks Football Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Barcelona's 3-0 win over Real Oviedo at the Camp Nou. And going into this game, this was the first home game of 2026 and our first time back at the Camp Nou after 8 straight away matches. So it's been a really long time. And the atmosphere at the Camp Nou today was really good. So it was just good to be back and playing there. But again, Barca really needed a response after the Real Sociedad loss. And then also because we were second and because Madrid played yesterday and they got a pretty decent, pretty big win, 2-0 against Villarreal. So, there was a lot of pressure on us coming into this game because if we did drop points, I mean, that would mean that Madrid would be first in the league and that would just be really disappointing, especially after that 11-game winning streak that we went on. But again, with this result, 3-0 away, 3-0 at home, it's a really good result. And we're back at the top of La Liga and only 1 point clear of Real Madrid. So again, it's still really important to, keep that lead and keep winning games confidently. So yeah, Brajesh, you want to talk about the Lions going into this game?
Yeah, so as keeper, Joan García, is a routine pick. He's always going to be the keeper. So yeah, Joan García was the keeper. And then the fullbacks, we actually saw a different thing. So Balde and Koundé both actually got benched. So we saw left back Gerard Martin, and not left back. We saw Cancelo. So he actually this is his first start for Barca coming back into this season. So left back actually Cancelo, and then center backs. So Gerard Martin played left center back, and then we had Kubarsi, and then Eric Garcia played right back. So Koundé was benched. I think I mentioned last video how I think some fans are a bit kind of turning on Koundé, and I think they find Koundé a bit unreliable. So you saw Eric Garcia, who you saw before when he played right back, he was pretty solid. So I think Flick thought he would do a good job there. So he started at right back, and midfield. So the midfield is I honestly Pedri's hurt, so we didn't see Pedri play, but we saw De Jong, who I think De Jong is very good, and yeah, he played there. And then we saw Casado also start. So yeah, with Pedri out, it was really between Casado, Bernal, even Eric, who would play in the double pivot. But I guess with the center backs and the right back, so he put Eric there. So I think it was between Casado and Bernal, and I think he just went with Casado because Casado kind of gives that that intensity, that defensive presence. So yeah, and then the front four. So the wings, Raphinha, Lamine, those are the two best players at the wings. And then attacking mid, so Olmo started. Olmo's I think came off that very good goal and a good cameo against Slavia. I think Olmo can produce some good moments, so I think Flick wanted to start him. And then striker Lewandowski, because I think France still I think he's out still. So yeah, he just started striker.
Yeah, you mentioned Cancelo actually starting this game, so I did expect to see him do well in attack, at least attacking wise, because we know that defensively he's not that good. But I actually wanted to see him on the right side with Lamine because we've seen how good an overlapping right back can be for Lamine. But unfortunately, we saw Eric start at right back and Cancelo at left back. So I still do think Cancelo was pretty decent, especially he hasn't been fully fit and hasn't been playing too much this season. But I do think it was a decent performance from him. And then also Olmo, since coming back from injury, even though he's been getting criticized, he's been getting almost a goal and assist every single game. So, fair play to him. He's been doing well, but I still feel like in general he can get more involved into games. But yeah, let's talk about the game itself. This first half, I think again we were so sloppy. It felt like one of our worst performances, honestly, because there was no intensity. It felt like all the players were kind of again playing misplaced passes, and everything was just not working out at all. And honestly, there was just not much tempo. There was not much circulation, and I think the crowd was also getting a bit restless because we need to win this game, and it was against the worst side in La Liga. So at home, and we need to win this game, and it wasn't looking good, at least in the first half. And it just felt like Oviedo was kind of playing that long ball counter kind of style where every time they kind of got the ball, they would look for a long ball and then try to counter against Barca's high line. And again, it just felt like even though we won the ball back and we held possession for a long times, it just felt like nothing was going to work out, at least attacking wise. And it felt like it was a really frustrating half. And again, I don't really think anything big happened in that first half. I think, again, there was that one Raphinha chance where he hits a volley and then Aaron Escandel, the Oviedo goalkeeper, who again last time we played him, he had a crazy performance, and again he does a good job to save that Rafinha chance. But again, in that first half, again nothing too much happened, and it was pretty disappointing to see. But yeah, what were your thoughts, Bujash?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it. Where I think Barca didn't play a good first half, and we saw that last game versus Slavia that in the first half Barca didn't really play well, and everyone expects Barca to play well because Barca have such a good team. Barca are coming off a very good streak of wins, and coming off a very good UCL win, I'd say. I think against the team they said like last place, they haven't won since September. They only drew and lost since then. You expect Barca to do much better against that team, but you didn't really see that. Like you said with that Rafinha chance, I think that was probably the best chance that Barca got in the first half. There's also one chance that I think Lamine Yamal crossed it to Lewandowski, and that nothing really happened from that. So yeah, I just think Barca didn't play well enough, and Oviedo, they had their own they were kind of threatening their own way. They had some good chances as well that are kind of scary, but they didn't really do much either. So yeah, I just think first half not much that really went on, and at that point I think a lot of people wanted some change in the team. So going to halftime, I think we saw a change, right? Koundé came on, so I think that change definitely. I think Flick wanted to somehow change the game by having Koundé come on, and when we talk about the second half, I think we'll talk about how that kind of had some impact and how Barca played much better in the second half. So yeah, I just think going forward, I think Barca really need to improve in the first half, because the first half is actually super important to the game. It's like the start of the game, and having a good first half usually can lead to good momentum in the second half. And in the first minute, I believe Barca almost conceded a bad chance, but then it was offside. So I think in the first 5 minutes, Barca somehow always almost conceded a goal. And we've seen Barca concede goals in the first 30 seconds, first minute. So I think even Flick mentioned how at the start of the game Barca really need to concentrate, because what we see most of the time is just Barca just giving away other team a good chance, and a lot of times the ball either goes in the back of the net or it's rolled offside. So yeah, I just think Barca need a lot better in that aspect. So I think that's something that the team will try to improve on. But yeah, so first half nothing really much to say.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think Flick really realized that again this first half was really disappointing. We had no press and there was no intensity. But I think the changes that he made at halftime, especially bringing Koundé on, and I think reconstructing the defense a bit, because Martino was also on a yellow, so it was a bit dangerous with him in defense. But I do think we were much more aggressive, and I think we were always pushing up with our midfield to squeeze the second balls and kind of win those duels again and take back control. But again, I do feel like the second half was much better. I think we should play like this the whole game, even because as you mentioned, at the start of games we really struggle, and it feels like we don't create as much at all. And again, that first goal, I think it was much more of a pressing. I think it was because of our pressing, and Oviedo ended up making a key mistake, and they try to play it out from the back. But again, they should just stick to long balls, because it didn't work out for them, and it ends up being a goal for Barca because Barca punished them. Again, a goal for Dani Olmo. I mean, it was a really good goal. It was pretty good. I think nothing too special. I mean, we've seen Daniel even if he hasn't had the best game, he somehow gets those good finishes. I still feel like he's a bit inconsistent with his shooting, but when he's at his best, we know that he can make the change and he can make the difference. So again, a really good low driven finish out near the box, and I feel like this kind of brought out the tension from the game, and it felt like after this goal the floodgates were kind of open, and the tension would disappear. So I do feel like this was a key goal and a key moment in the game to actually help us move forward. And then right at 5 minutes later, we saw the Raphinha goal again. I mean, we've seen Oviedo mess up in the back again, and thankfully Raphinha's pressing. He always gets that ball, and yeah, he just gets through and then chips Escandel from the edge of the area with his left foot. And we've seen again, similar to Olmo, if Raphinha is not having the best game, even though he's our best presser, he's clutching those kind of moments where he can just score a goal out of nothing. And again, we've just seen how clutch he can be for Barca, and that chip was a really good finish from him. And yeah, to be fair, from that point, it was feeling at this point, Barca were going to dominate the rest of the game. And then the biggest moment in the game for me, I mean, that Lamine Yamal goal, what a finish. I mean, the scissor kick, bicycle kick kind of goal. I mean, I've never seen him try to attempt that ever in his Barca career so far, but we know that he has things like that in his locker. So, I mean, what a goal from him. I mean, again, Daniel Olmo kind of whips in across into the box, and at that point, I expect either Yamal to like chest it and then shoot, or do something else. But I mean, he just went for the straight scissor kick, and I mean, what a goal! The stadium went mad, and I mean, everyone was kind of happy for him and just happy with the whole team performance in the second half. But I do feel like, yeah, overall, like that second half was much, much better. I think we controlled the game properly, and Flick's substitutions, like bringing more Bernal later on in the game, and also like Firmino and Balde, I think they also helped with our pressing and stuff. I think even Rooney kind of had a bit of an influence in that game, especially that last chance where Lewandowski could have scored, but I mean, it's unlucky. But again, yeah, really good game management from Flick and the whole team, and we're glad to win 3-0. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, so similar to you, again, like the second half, it was much better because coming the first half, it was very kind of lazy. Nothing really happened. It was kind of boring. But then second half, that's where everything happened. That's where all the goals were scored. And like you mentioned with Olmo, I mean, he's very like, I would say, like a game changing player where he have like one moment to change the entire game. He's very good at scoring key goals especially when Barca needed. He's able to, most of the time he's able to actually get the goal. So I think recently Olmo's actually been. He's a bit inconsistent, right? Because there's some games where his finishing, it may not be the best, but he still has like some games where he makes huge impact that helps Barca win the game. So he's definitely a valuable asset. And what mentioned with the Raphinha goal as well. Yeah, I think Raphinha did well to win the ball from the air, and he had a really good finish for the chip. I mean, I think he even mentioned post game. Someone asked like, why didn't you do your classic low driven shot? But he was like, he wants to change it up. The keeper, you can't like let the keeper predict what he's gonna do. So yeah, the chip was actually a very nice, very stylish finish. And of course, the goal of the match, the Lamine Yamal goal. I mean, that was crazy. I think everyone's reaction was just watching that was insane. I mean, yeah, I think Lamine Yamal and the entire game was very. I actually liked the way he played. I think it was good. But then I think that goal just brought his performance like to a much higher rating. I think it was such a. I don't know how to describe it. It was just such a great goal, and it was like the nail of the coffin. Even though the game was kind of over at that point, it was just a great finish, and great from Olmo for giving that ball like that. I do think, if I remember correctly, I think the ball was a bit behind Lamine, so I think Lamine had to kind of reposition himself to get the shot off. But either way, so good pass and then great finish. And yeah, I think overall the second half it was much better. Like you mentioned, the subs kind of had their own impact, and Barca were able to kind of hold off. I actually think Kubarsi, who I think like so far this season, I don't think Kubarsi has been too impressive considering what happened last season, where he was such a good center back, such a great defender. He was super good, and I think this season he hasn't really been up to that that standard. But I think today he was actually he was very solid, very good. So I think he was definitely impressive, and I think overall, I think even though the first half the team was a bit sloppy, I think the second half, I think like the players kind of stepped up the performance, and I think some players were definitely more impressive than others. And yeah, I think the win overall is pretty solid. I mean, it puts Barca back at first in the the Liga table. So yeah, I think right now it's pretty calm right now. So yeah, that's a lot to say, I guess.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I think this performance is really big. Even though we didn't play good in the first half, I think the mentality to come back in the second half, especially from Flick and the players, and then do really well and then get those 3 goals, I think is just really important. And we've seen that even like title winning teams, they don't perform well every single game, but the thing that differs them from the other teams is that they win even when they're poor. So again, I feel like that Sociedad game really put like a bad, I guess, omen on the team, and I felt like we had to build off that and kind of perform better. And I mean, yeah, just winning 3-0 at home finally, I think it's a really big performance. But my man of the match for this game, I don't really think there was like a standout player for this game, but just because of the moment, I'm gonna give it to Yamal. I think that goal just was insane. Honestly, could be like nominated for that Puskas, but again, yeah, I just feel like Yamal in general was pretty decent. I think he was okay with his dribbles and stuff. And then Olmo, I think he's an honorable mention because he got that crucial goal to start off the goal fest, and then also that assist to Yamal. So I do think he's one of those players that can connect our midfield and attack. And when he's at his best, I think he's a real difference maker. And Also, credit to Rafinha. Again, he didn't really, do too much in the game. He's either on and off, and even though like he had that one moment, he just needs one moment to make a difference in the team, and he got that great goal. So shout out to him as well. The defense, I mean, even though we got a clean sheet, I just feel like Oviedo really didn't create much to, I guess, harm the team. Joan Garcia had a couple of saves where, like, at the end of the game, there was a couple of shots from, I think, Hassan also had, like, a shot. So, I mean, Joan Garcia was pretty decent, but again, nothing too much, nothing too special. I don't think there was a standout performer. And again, I do feel like we really missed Pedri in midfield today. I think Casado again just shows that he's not really control. He can't be a controller for our team, and with the absence of Pedri, it just feels like our creative level really drops off a lot. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we're gonna miss him for the next month or so. So Flick is really gonna have to see like what he can do with this midfield. Either move like an Eric Garcia to midfield, or try to have Bernal also fill in a bit. But I mean, yeah, what was your take on that?
Yeah, so for my man of the match, I'm giving it Lamine Yamal. I mean, yeah, like we kind of said, like the team overall, like it wasn't like too like I guess impressive. Like we're kind of used to seeing like much better from the players, but I think like just the goal that Lamine Yamal scored, and also just his overall play, I think he definitely deserves it. I think he was very good, and he also kind of fouled quite a bit as well. So yeah, I would have to give it to Lamine Yamal, and like mentioned, the honorable mentions, like Olmo had a pretty good game, I'd say. I think Raphinha, the goal definitely helped Barcelona get the win, and yeah, I can't really say too much on the players' performance because I feel like yeah, there's nothing really stand out, right? But yeah, I hope at least the performance, like, hopefully it can get better. I mean, the next game is Copenhagen for the UCL, where Barcelona try to fight for the top 8 against a lot of teams that are also fighting for top 8. So it'll be a pretty pretty big night where all the teams are playing at once. So yeah, I think Barca definitely need to improve for that game because even like a loss can be bad momentum going into the rest of the season. And with the Pedri being out, I mean, you mentioned like the midfield, like definitely like a midfield without Pedri definitely it's not the same. And missing a player like that is definitely hard to I guess readjust to. And I think De Jong, when De Jong has played while Pedro's out, I think he's most of the time he's kind of filled in Pedro's absence. And the only game that I would say he didn't really do that was the Chelsea game. But I think there were like other reasons for that, like the raw red card and all. But I think everyone's waiting for Pedro to come back. But I think for the next month, Barca can definitely hold off. There are some important games, like if Barca don't get top 8, then there's the qualifiers for the UCL, so those will be definitely some pretty important games, and obviously the Liga run, because Madrid are very close, and Madrid are kind of having better, I guess you say, form with Areola, even though it's kind of too early to say. Some of the players, they're getting the results, they're getting some good wins, like they got a 6-1 win versus Monaco, which we talked about in the UCL video, and then they're coming off a win versus Villarreal. Mbappe is, he's in also pretty good form, very good form actually. He's like one of the best players in the world, and Vinny's also getting better. Drew's getting better, so you can't really slack off at this point of the season. It's still pretty important, like a lot of important games. Like every game matters. So yeah, I think Barca need to somehow regain consistency like last season, where the Barca were going on so many huge runs, picking up some very big performances, and like the entire team was playing much better. So yeah, I think some players like definitely need to step up because some players are kind of underperforming in my opinion, especially recently. Like I think we can see more of Raphinha. I think there's a lot of times where last season Raphinha made some huge impact, a lot of like really insane games. I think this season, even though he was injured for like a pretty good chunk of the season, I think when he has played, he has definitely had some pretty huge impact, and you definitely feel his presence and what he brings to the team. But at the same time, I feel like he could be doing more because we know the player Raphinha is and how good he is. He had Ballon d'Or caliber season last season, so I feel like this season he can definitely go higher than that. So I'd love to see Raphinha do much better. Even though I'm not saying he's doing bad, but I think right now he could be doing a lot more better because I know the player Raphinha is, and I know like what peak he can reach. So yeah, I hope he can do better. And just consistency from like a lot of other players, I think will be much better. And of course the defense, I hope the defense can get better because the defense is so shaky and it's like scary at times. And I think we saw like recently with the news that Barca been signing a lot of youngsters, so I feel like that kind of confirms that there's no center back signed in the winter, and I saw that the Schlotterbeck deal is kind of like confirmed off. So I don't think Schlotterbeck really is going to come to Barca. So I don't really think Barca will sign some center back in the winter. So right now is like the center back choices that Barca have. I do think with Araujo, I feel like even though Araujo in the big games, we've seen like he's kind of sold in the big games. I do think that Araujo's still a good center back, and I think he can definitely play in like the La Liga games. I feel like if you put him in a game like that, he'll give you a good performance. It's just the big games that we need to see like Araujo actually prove himself. So yeah, I think Barca's like kind of shaking the center back mark still, but I think like Eric Garcia and Joan García have been a huge help in filling out that left center back role. Like especially Eric, who he plays almost like everywhere. He can play almost everywhere. I feel like he's been such a huge asset, and I wouldn't want to say I would say he's like an unsung hero for Barca so far this season. Even though I think Barca fans would give him credit, I just think he's been super important for the team that I feel like it's kind of overlooked. And Barca players like Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Joan Garcia, Raphinha, and Lewandowski. I think Eric can sometimes be like overlooked, but he's definitely been super important for the season, and I think he's easily been Barca's best defender and most consistent defender. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the big picture, I mean, at the moment, Barca are first place and we're on 52 points. Again, we're only 1 point ahead of Madrid, so every game going forward in La Liga is going to be crucial, and it's going to be really difficult if we start dropping points. So again, it's going to be really important for this team to keep winning no matter what. And again, these first half performances where we start slow or we concede an early goal or we just don't play as well, I think that has to be fixed by Flick. And I mean, again, our home record is pretty ridiculous. We've had 9 wins from 9 and only 5 conceded at the Camp Nou this season. So it's pretty crazy that, what a difference a home stadium can make. And the Camp Nou really makes a difference, I feel, for the players and the overall atmosphere of games that we go into. But again, I do feel like for this game, we showed the right reaction in the second half. And even though we didn't dominate for a full 90 minutes, I feel like to win by 3 goals and 3 actually really good goals in the second half, I feel like it's a good mentality, and credit to Flick for that. But as you mentioned, our next fixture is going to be against Copenhagen in the Champions League, and that's going to be at home as well. So hopefully we do get a big win against them, especially for the top 8 in the Champions League phase. We do need to get a big goal difference because there are, as we mentioned, I think there are 8 teams on 13 points or something like that. So there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of value on goal difference. So if we do score a lot of goals, hopefully it's going to be important to finish in that top 8 and avoid the extra fixtures to get into the round of 16. But I mean, it's going to be a must win. And hopefully a player like Olmo continues his form. I think he's been doing well in recent games. And obviously Raphinha in the Champions League, we know how he can be in that competition. And obviously Yamal, again, that goal today, hopefully continues like that today. But yeah, I just feel like overall form is slowly picking up in this part of the season. So hopefully we keep going well. But as you mentioned, there's been a couple of signings for the Barca youngster athletic team. Again, it's kind of bad to see the Flick. I mean, the board can't financially back Flick because we've seen even a manager like Pep, who's been struggling at City for a couple of weeks, and right away in the January window he got players like Semenyo and Guehi, and we've seen the recent performance from Guehi. I mean, he's making a big difference for City defense already, and it feels like if a player like that could be at Barca, again, Flick would really do even much better with our defense. And again, the Schlotterbeck links to going down. I think there was a mention about how he's not the right profile for Barca and he doesn't tactically fit the team, which is just stupid because, a center back like that could easily fit our team and could easily thrive under Flick. But again, it's just, I mean, hopefully those youngsters that we signed do well. I mean, the biggest one I've known about is Hamza Abdelkarim. I haven't watched a game about him, but I mean, there's a lot of hype about him from Al Ali. So hopefully he does well, and he's a striker. So, we do need a kind of a good striker for our team. So if he does get a chance to, perform, I feel like if he takes his chances, he could actually make a difference with his team. But again, not a big name signed for Barca this window, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen apart from Cancelo. I mean, Cancelo's been decent so far for Barca again. But I mean, that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on this game and overall Barca in recent form. Hopefully our next fixture against Copenhagen goes well and we finish in the top 8, and And yeah, we do end up going to the round of 16 of the Champions League. But let us know about your thoughts on the Sociedad loss and how we picked up today. And do you think our form in La Liga is going to continue? And yeah, let us know about your thoughts on the Lamine Yamal goal and rate it out of 10. But thank you for listening, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Goodbye.